Thanks, Drew. Tonight on After Dark, an elementary school principal on trial in the court of public opinion for the murder of her husband. She was set free by the DA, and today her husband was buried. But was this wife and mother involved? Our jury is ready to hear the evidence right now on HLN After Dark.
Leslie Janae Chance,
accused of murdering her husband.
Chance is responsible for Mr. Chance's shooting death.
She has been described as smart, hardworking, well-liked.
A fun-loving, caring, dedicated elementary school
principal is accused of pumping her husband full of holes and dumping his body in a field.
We are certain that the person responsible for shooting Mr. Chance was his wife.
His car was later found 20 miles away.
We do believe she is the person who drove his vehicle to that neighborhood.
She parked the car and just left it.
As far as the motive, we really don't know what the motive is at this point.
Tonight's bold question: was the principal involved in her husband's murder? Ryan Smith is standing by with our in-studio jury, who will answer that question with a verdict by the end of the show. Tonight, the After Dark prosecution says yes, the principal was involved in her husband's murder and will present the evidence to prove it. Meanwhile, the After Dark defense says no, there is no proof the principal was involved. Our special guest tonight, joining us from Bakersfield, California, KERO reporter Chris Ornelas. Also with us, attorney and chief correspondent for Inside Edition, Jim Murray, who has the latest details on today's funeral for Todd Chance. Jim, great to see you.
Good to see you too, Vinny.
Did the principal, did she show up at her husband's funeral today?
No, she did not. And after talking to her attorney, he's the reason why. Her attorney told her that even though he says she wanted to be there, that she should not go because then the focus would be on her and not on her husband, as it should rightfully be.
So what does the rest of the family think about all this? I mean, this is a case, obviously, that hits home. They've got children. Right. What are the children saying, and what else is going on? I mean, this is really unusual not to show up to the funeral, number one, but then be the focus of this investigation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine showing up to the funeral if all eyes are on you as the likely suspect, at least in the police eyes, the only suspect in this man's murder. And let's face it, this was clearly a murder. I mean, it wasn't like he died accidentally. He was clearly shot and clearly left in a field about 20 miles away from his home. So if I were her and I were suspected but not yet charged, as much as I would want to be there, I don't know that I would be there. And as her attorney, I'd say don't go. And, you know, you could play that both ways. You could say, well, if she isn't responsible, she should be there to grieve for her husband. And she probably is grieving for him. According to her attorney, she says she has nothing to do with this. Her daughter, her 23-year-old daughter, who was raised by Todd, is apparently just grief-stricken and was not even able to speak at this funeral. The family has been instructed by this attorney not to talk. And the reason, Vinny, is because the police are trying to gather more evidence to decide whether or not to charge her.
And the DA, Ryan, has set this principal, this woman, this wife, this mother free, at least so far.
Right, but she's free right now. We'll see what happens if charges are filed to come. Now, we've got our in-studio jury with us. They've got the bold question in front of them. Was the principal involved in her husband's murder? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the question you have to decide tonight. If you believe that she was, you vote yes. If you believe that she was not involved with her husband's murder, you vote no. Do you understand? All right, Vinny, the jury's ready to go. And this is going to be a tough one because a lot of people are asking, where's the evidence?
Where's the evidence? Where's the proof? And why isn't, and other people on the other side saying, why isn't she arrested? I want to talk to our experts here about today's funeral. She's a no-show. I mean, if you're innocent, you don't show up to your husband's funeral?
What does that say? What does that say to everybody? Oh, if you're not guilty, if you had nothing to do with it, you go and you show up, you say, I don't care what anybody says. I loved my husband, I'm going to grieve for my husband.
No, it's compassion. She knows that the media will follow her, and they want the focus to be on the funeral and mourning. She did the right thing. She laid low. She took the highest moral ground she could by staying away and let this happen. She's going to sing out on processing this funeral herself. She did the best thing she could.
She also followed her attorney's advice, is what she should have done in this case. I mean, she's the focus of a murder investigation. She certainly needs to be grieving at home. She doesn't need to be going to the funeral against her own attorney's advice.
Yeah, but Darren, do we have to be listening to the attorneys all the time? I mean, my goodness, if your spouse has just been murdered and you had nothing to do with it, you're just going to turn your back on the funeral and listen to the lawyer?
Yeah, actually, Vinny, failure to follow your lawyer's advice is what we call felony stupid. And let's not forget that this is an ongoing investigation. She was released because the district attorney didn't have, in their mind, sufficient evidence to bring charges now. But this is an ongoing investigation. And let's remember, anything that she were to say to anybody can be construed as an admission against her and come back into court. So the smartest thing that she can do is to stay away and deprive anybody of the opportunity to say, well, this is what she said when we were speaking at the funeral. Stay out of there.
So I guess
listen
if
to the lawyer.
And there were no tears, that would be, oh, I did it, huh?
Well, Joey Jackson, why not go to the funeral? You say you're innocent, you had nothing to do with this. What on earth could you do that would incriminate you at a funeral?
It's a very fair point, Vinny, and certainly I don't want to make judgments about her. I mean, she decided to do what she did based upon counsel's advice, but at the end of the day, this is your husband, the man you love, the man that you're saying you had nothing at all to do with his murder. So what about public opinion? So what people think? This is the person I'm going to bury. I owe him a debt of gratitude. This is my partner in life, and as a result of that, I go. Felony stupid, Darren, or not.
All right, time for one word. And tonight, let's begin with this woman. She's the principal. She's the wife. She's the mother. I want one word to describe this principal. Prosecutor Kenya Johnson.
Unassuming.
HLN law enforcement analyst Mike Brooks. One word.
Suspect.
I agree. Criminal defense attorney Meg Strickler. One word to describe this principal.
Stable.
Criminal defense attorney Patrick McDonough.
Upstanding.
HLN legal contributor Joey Jackson, give me one word.
Curious.
The man who has never said one word. Attorney Darren Kavanoki. One word to describe this principal.
One word, Vinny. I got it. Shawshank-nado. Falsely accused, like Shawshank Redemption. And under a cloud of suspicion, like the cloud of sharks in Sharknado.
Very good.
Chief correspondent for Inside Edition, Jim Moray, one word to describe this principal.
Grieving.
Ryan Smith, one word.
Confusing.
All right, let's go to the jury. Let's go right to number 9.
Ryan.
That's you, Colleen.
Nutty as in almond field.
Ooh, 5 words, but we'll give it to her.
Still less than Kavanoki.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what. Coming up, we have new information on the charges from a live reporter in Bakersfield, California.
Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, let's take a look at some of the evidence
Proving guilty or not guilty.
They were serving a search warrant here at the school.
We do believe she is the person who drove his vehicle to that neighborhood.
We go inside the evidence room.
We do have witnesses that have witnessed different parts of what occurred.
It is out of character and very hard to believe.
Next on HLN After Dark.
We do believe she is the person who drove his vehicle to that neighborhood and left it in that neighborhood and then walked away from the vehicle.
She parked the car and just left it. I figured it was a stolen vehicle. She never even looked back. She just got out and left.
Okay, new information coming out about the principal. And our bold question, was the principal involved in her husband's murder? Vinny Politan's over at the HLNTV.com evidence room.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Let's take a look at a map so you know where everything is in this case. That is important. Over here is where the body was found. And then you go 20 miles away. That is the home where Todd and Janaea Chance lived. And then 5 miles away from that is where Todd's Mustang was found abandoned. I want to bring in Chris Ornelas from KERO in Bakersfield. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Give us an idea of where, let's begin first where the car was found. Give us an idea what that area looks like.
That's kind of a working class neighborhood. It's close to the interstate, a lot of small houses close together, maybe a middle to lower income neighborhood.
Okay, and it's just 5 miles from the house, correct?
That is correct. It's about 5 miles away. The neighborhood where the family actually lives is a much more upscale, large homes, and a very nice and quiet cul-de-sac where their home is located.
Okay, now what are witnesses saying about what they saw relative to the Mustang that was found abandoned that belonged to Todd?
Well, the sheriff's office is being very tight-lipped about exactly what their witnesses saw, but there is some indication that at least one person saw a woman leaving that Mustang in the neighborhood and then walking away. It was somewhat unusual because it is a very nice Mustang, and many of the cars in that neighborhood aren't like that, and so it didn't quite fit in. There's also been some talk, of course this is an unconfirmed report, but some talk that maybe there may even be surveillance video of the car being left in the neighborhood.
All right, that would be powerful evidence if, in fact, that exists. How about a timeline here? Is there any timeline that we can set that puts Todd and Janaea together that day?
Not that it's been released by the sheriff's office. They're keeping things pretty close to the vest. There's been some talk that they were together that morning, but nothing confirmed from sheriff's office. We're waiting for court documents to be filed before we get those kinds of details.
All right, Chris Ornelas in Bakersfield. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it. Now, let's take a closer look, folks. When you take a look at that neighborhood where this Mustang was, in fact, found, you take a look here at the neighborhood. This is exactly what he's talking about. And I'm wondering, you know, why would his car be left by some woman in the neighborhood? That's the part, I think, that really strikes a lot of people, that someone is leaving the car here and then walking away. And if we go back to the map, what I find really interesting here is the fact that the car is found 5 miles from the home, and it's east of the home, yet where the body was found is 20 miles northwest of the home. Why would the person abandon the car all the way over here? I would argue, and Ryan, I would argue that it's because this is walking distance 5 miles from the car back home, whereas if you left the car here, you're not walking 20 miles to get back home, right?
So then is the theory that she dropped his body off 20 miles away and dropped the car off 5 miles from home?
That's the I think that's got to be the working theory here, because this is the abandoned place where the body was in fact found. We take a look at that area right now. You can see this is where the body was found, in the middle of this almond orchard. And then we take a wider shot look at it. You can see where the road is relative to the almond orchard. So here you are at the orchard. You've got that being 20 miles from the house, yet the car's found just 5 miles and in the other direction away from where the house actually is, Ryan.
It's an interesting theory. Can police put it all together? Now, our jury is trying to sort this all out. They're coming up with their own theories. I want to go to Alexandra over here. She's a little bit shy, but she's got a theory.
Just wondering, there isn't any evidence, obviously, but is there any word of what his occupation was, and or what is, was there an affair happening, possibly, and that's the woman walking away from the car?
Oh, could be somebody else, Vinny.
Another woman, yeah, and obviously that might be where they want to go. Talk about occupation. He was a truck driver, and she was a school principal. That's what we know.
Okay. All right. You know what? We've got new information about the motive. We're going to talk about that coming up. Truck driver, she says that's part of the theory. We'll get into that, too.
We are certain that the person responsible for shooting Mr. Chance was his wife.
I thought the same thing, too. What did he do to get shot? Did he beat her? Did he cheat on her? Or did he steal all the money and go gambling?
The question, is it her, and why if it is?
Why was Principal Chance released from jail? Because they had to release her. According to California law, you can only sit in a jail cell without formal charges being filed for 48 hours. She was in there for a little longer than 48 hours. Law enforcement arrested her, arresting charges got her in jail. But then the prosecutors must have decided they could not find beyond a reasonable doubt in front of a jury she killed her husband. And without those formal charges, she had to be released.
I don't know. I mean, I'm shocked.
I couldn't believe it was her.
Shock, disbelief, just not believing, had to be a mistake.
I don't think she would do something like that, but again, I don't know her to judge her.
Oh my God, I was shocked. Really, really shocked.
I seriously wouldn't picture her ever doing anything like that. Seriously, not the type of person.
She's an amazing, caring person, and she always has her family here for all of the school events and stuff, so it's just kind of weird that it happened all of a sudden like that when they had such a good home life. I still have chills. I mean, I feel bad for the Chance family, but until she's proven guilty, I'm not going to believe it.
People don't want to believe it. People don't believe it, that the principal is involved in the murder of her own husband. So who is this woman, this principal, Leslie Chance? Let's take a look at who she is. She's been principal of the school since 2006, worked at the school district since 1997. She's been married to the man for 17 years before his murder, and she is the mother of 3. Now, the school superintendent, her ultimate boss, spoke out about this woman. Take a listen to what she had to say.
Several of the people I talked to, their first response was they got the wrong person this time. It's just, it is out of character and very hard to believe. Well-liked as far as I know. No complaints. Hardworking. Pretty quiet. Well-respected. Professional.
All right, not normally the words we hear associated with an accused murderer.
There's nothing here. She's got a stable background. That's why I use that as my one word. We got nothing here at all.
You never know what's going on behind closed doors, which is why when law enforcement investigates a crime like this, they look at the people that are closest to the victim. And if it makes sense, you take the evidence to the lab to confirm it, and then you charge.
But you want to eliminate the person closest to the victim and then move on with your investigation. So something has led them to her, and that's why they're concentrating on her as a suspect. You know, just like you said, Charlie Rich's song, behind closed doors, you just don't know.
Yeah, but put aside closed doors. We're talking about Bakersfield, California. This is a jurisdiction that loves to prosecute. A jurisdiction that is so conservative they make Mike Brooks look like a Haight-Ashbury liberal. And the fact that they would let this woman go, that speaks volumes. There is nothing there.
Vinny, when you look at this woman and you look at the way people have been describing her, think back to your own elementary school and the kind of person that would be the principal. You think of a nurturing person who's around these young kids, and you listen to description being quiet, hardworking, sweet. You know, these do not add up to somebody that would do this. And absent any other evidence, I would say, I agree, this is the wrong person.
Well, I want everyone to take a listen to this, though. I want you to take a listen to Amy Rocha, Lacey Peterson's sister, early on in that investigation of Scott Peterson.
Is your sister very happily married?
Very happily married, yes.
So you join your stepfather and your mother in saying that you don't question at all Scott's involvement?
We have no question in our mind about Scott. He's part of our family.
Joey Jackson, that proves to me that you never know what's going on behind closed doors.
It absolutely does. I mean, that's a wonderful piece. Just because you have people out there, not to diminish character. Character is important, and I think it is very valuable. She has people saying that it couldn't be, and oh my goodness, and I'm so shocked. But how many times have we heard that about an individual, about a family, about a neighborhood where something happens? And so therefore, do we really know? And is it really outcome determinative because we have people there to support her? I think we're a long way. She's a long way from home as far as this final point is that, look, they let her go for now. That is not to suggest that they cannot come back after they fully investigated it with more proof and therefore go after her at that time.
Yeah, and Ryan, you know, the parents in the school, they were all shocked, disbelief. They don't want to believe it.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't link her to Peterson there. I mean, you look at that situation. Yeah, I know we didn't know him.
We didn't know him.
But at the same time, you could say also you don't know her, and she's probably a great person. All right. Well, you know what? This jury, they're chomping at the bit. They want to get in on the action. They're coming up next.
We are certain that the person responsible for shooting Mr. Chance was his wife.
I thought the same thing, too. What did he do to get shot? Did he beat her? Did he cheat on her? Or did he steal all the money and go gambling?
The question, is it her, and why if it is?
criminal cases are not prosecuted based on suspicions and hunches and what about this and behind closed doors. They're prosecuted based on evidence. And right now, prosecutors got none of it.
A popular elementary school principal is accused of shooting and killing her husband.
It is out of character and very hard to believe.
A school system, an entire community in shock.
To commit murder. Now, what are the kids going to think?
The question, is it her, and why if it is?
Was the principal involved in her husband's murder? That's our bold question. We'll have a verdict from our jury by the end of the program. And for me, the key to this whole case is the car. It's the car. That's the key piece of evidence. That's where everything's going to come from. Take a listen to what police said about the car.
We believe that he was possibly shot in the vehicle out at the scene, but we're still trying to determine exactly where he was shot. We are confident that she's the person responsible for shooting him. A handgun inside the car. We believe that's the firearm that was used in the shooting.
All right, defense. The handgun's found in the car. They believe was shot in the car. The car is found 5 miles from the house, yet the killing was 20 miles away. Why is that car 5 miles away?
Let me talk about that.
And left there by a woman.
Let me talk about the gun first, though. If you really are going to be the one who's shooting, why in the heck would you leave it in the car?
Because you're walking away from the car.
You want to get caught with a gun on you?
She didn't walk. Who the heck could walk 5 miles? Are you kidding me? She didn't walk.
She had to drive 15 miles before she got to that spot.
Let me jump in, guys, because these guys are going crazy over here. They want to jump in. They're offering theories.
Where was she arrested? At work or at home? Kind of a state of mind type of question. Because she was arrested.
I don't think it was at home because it was during the weekend. So
during the weekend,
yeah,
school's out, not at work.
But what we know is she didn't flee, that she was there. What we know is this entire case is based on a bunch of speculation. The cops rushed to judgment. Oh, it has to be the spouse.
Oh,
there was a car.
Let's go. Jim Murray is out there.
Vinny, I think you're right about one thing. You talk about the car being critical, and let's face it, you don't just have a timeline. In that car, if that car was at the scene, you'd have dirt from the orchard. You'd have dirt on her shoes. You'd have blood evidence. There will be physical evidence linking her to this crime if she's responsible, or certainly linking the car to the scene of that crime.
Right, and they're having search warrants served, so we don't know what evidence they have back. They are holding those cards so close to their vest right now. And you know what? As a former investigator, I don't blame them.
I want to get our jury back into this. Doris has got a... She's an elementary school teacher.
There's one other issue here with that car.
Okay, good point, Jim.
You guys, one other quick issue with that car, though. If that was the place where the killing occurred, he was found out in that orchard. Is she going to be able to get him out of the car, drag his dead body into the orchard? You know, dead bodies are heavy. They call it dead weight for a reason.
Look at that
Just
Mustang.
based on her size versus his.
Look at that Mustang.
Likely.
Is that very big? No, you could drive it right between those trees. Absolutely.
Oh, baloney. I used to drive a Mustang.
Oh, I could drive that car.
I don't know. These guys over here aren't buying it. They seem to be buying Darren Kavanaugh's theory.
I'm wondering if she left it in that neighborhood thinking that it might have been stolen. Were the keys still in the car?
That's a good question, because why would she just leave it there?
It's a good question because everybody's wondering, because there's no evidence. You guys could work for the sheriff's department out there. Maybe they're going to find this evidence. Maybe they're going to have gun residue. Maybe they're going to find dirt. We don't have any of that. What we have right now is sheer speculation.
No. It's released on a technicality, which means that the state is taking the evidence
lack of evidence.
back to the lab to confirm the evidence. The evidence is already there. They're taking it to the lab to get confirmation for a jury.
Would you agree that whoever left the car there and walked away is the one who's involved in this murder?
I'm not agreeing on anything. They don't have squat.
No.
That's why they let her go.
Not necessarily, but what we do know is a woman walked away, right? Great identification, right? Great. Did we have a lineup?
Let's talk about motive. Let's talk about motive in this case, Ryan, because I think that's significant in this case.
They don't have that either.
Now, there's two traditional motives that you have in a spousal case, right? It could be money or it could be love, right? Those are the two types of motives that we have. Correct? Will you guys agree with me? Money or love? There they are. Money or love. Let's take a look at their money situation. They have no debt, but they did have a prior bankruptcy 17 years ago.
400
Big
years
deal.
ago.
All right.
Most of it's nice, but it's not necessary. People snap. There's mistake. There's heat of passion. There's crimes of passion. And so just because she did not, just because she acted this way does not.
But if she was having an affair, somebody would
Well,
know.
let's take a look at their love
Let's just all
life.
agree there's no motive. Again,
Oh,
she's guessing,
thank you.
speculating.
Wait,
But there's no motive.
Let's
There's
take a
no
look at their
evidence
love
of motive
life.
here.
They're married for 17 years.
That's
3 children together.
Did you hear that? Motive right there.
No domestic violence, no restraining orders, no criminal history for either.
Juror number 1, say what you said.
17 years of marriage, that's the motive right there. I can't go 17 days sometimes. So in 17 years of marriage, of course there's a motive.
We can still prove
Look,
the case
the fact
without
is
motive.
that the police did not rush to judgment here. They did the right thing. Why? They let her go. Now, the sheriff also said he was very confident. What builds that confidence? We're a long way from her being home. We're going to look at text messages. We're looking at the search warrant. We're going to look at phone records. It could be social media records. There could be a number of things which connect her to this crime. There is no rush to judgment here.
Joey's absolutely right, because many times, I think sometimes law enforcement make the arrest without having built the full case. She's not going anywhere, and where might she also lead law enforcement while she's out on her own?
Yeah, but
It happens all the time.
All right, now, I mentioned 3 children. I mentioned 3 children. What do the children think? Dad's been murdered, mom was arrested, but she was released. Are they supporting mom? We'll find out.
Another thing to remember is that she was questioned several times. Whenever someone speaks, what could it do? It could affect you and affect you greatly. The police will be looking for any and all inconsistencies in what she told them. Stay tuned.
The best that I can hope for is that we have somebody doing a good investigation on the other side. Sloppy investigations lead to a lot of people's lives being ruined. And unfortunately, when you arrest the wrong person on a murder case, it's almost impossible to ever arrest the right murderer.
That's the principal's attorney speaking out. And the question is, was the principal involved in her husband's murder? That's our bold question. We'll have a verdict from our jury by the end of the program. So how about the children? Because there's 3 children involved here. Do they believe that mom is responsible? Are they standing by mom? Take a listen.
As we are grieving for the loss of our dad, we are also supporting our mother in this time of uncertainty. I ask that everyone continue to pray for strength to help all of our families through this difficult time.
All right, so it seems the children standing by mom.
And they
For
will.
now.
Even if they find out information that links their mom to the crime, they still won't tell. They'll still support her.
And this is substantive evidence in California. Code section 1103 says that character evidence is admissible. So they can have not just the children, but people from the school, the community. They can parade 100 people in there to say that this person's a good character, this person's nonviolent, she's passive. And this is circumstantial evidence that goes to her innocence.
But that'll only be introduced if the state brings up evidence of bad character. Then the defense will have the right to counter with good evidence, but the state has to bring up bad character.
Not California. They're allowed to bring it up anyway. Of course, the state would have to have a case to bring it up. And as we know now, the state does not have a case. All we have is a bunch of theory and speculation.
You know what? Speaking of character, the jury's got a question. Alexandra's got a question about the character.
I was just asking, we've heard so much about her character. What have we heard about his?
Not much yet.
Zip.
Not much yet, but no one has said anything bad about him that we've heard. Hey, you know, this is the thing, Ryan, when it comes to kids, I think kids, no matter what, don't want to believe that one parent murdered the other parent because one's dead. Then if the other one goes to prison, they basically become orphans. There was a case I covered up in Massachusetts. Dr. Dirk Greiniger was his name, okay? There was DNA evidence found in the murderer's gloves. There was a print from those gloves found on the doctor's glasses. This was overwhelming evidence. He was found guilty. His children, Yale-educated doctors, to this day do not believe their father killed their mother, and I understand why. They never do, Joey. That the children don't want to believe it.
It's a fair point, Vinny, and I just want to also say, look, when we talk about character, we have to be careful because we're talking about propensity. What does it mean? Your propensity, your penchant to do something else has nothing at all to do with whether you did this. And so, to be clear, this case is going to turn and rely upon the facts as they're discovered by those investigators, no matter what the children say, no matter what the other school officials say, no matter what her friends say.
Can I jump in, though?
Hey, and Vinny,
those kids
Vinny,
are, those,
well,
wait,
one
hold on,
one
Darren.
other thing very
Those kids
quickly.
are reading a statement. Isn't it true? I mean, couldn't we assume here that they're being told to read a statement by the attorneys for the family so that they keep... No?
No, they wouldn't go on a... They would not do a statement if they were not actually feeling what they said in that statement. I think they're so upset and in absolute grief, so they're reading so that they convey their feelings effectively.
But you can assume that because this whole case is based on assumptions
kids,
and speculation.
Go ahead, Darren.
And yeah, Vinny, those kids are in a position to know just because they're supporting mom doesn't necessarily mean that mom's guilty. If there was anything funny going on within the household, then those kids would be the first ones to know.
You know, is there a way, though, looking at this case, right? You're looking at the motive. Would even the children know what is really going on between a mother and a father?
They sure would.
No,
Cut me a break. Cut me a break. If there was domestic violence here,
they may not have been in the house. They may not have been to see their everyday interaction. They're adults.
They grew up in that household. They know what in the heck's going on. They know the best. And we also, again, to go back to physical, actual evidence, we don't have any prior police reports. We know that because that's not been discussed
But
at
what
all.
we do have, Ryan, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've got my mystery reveal. And that's next.
We have a murder victim here. We have a man who was left in a field, and we have his wife, who the police say is the only suspect. We know a lot about her character, but what we don't know at this point is any hard evidence linking her to the shooting of her husband. And until we have that, I cannot say that this woman is guilty, not with a good conscience.
Plus, what's inside that mystery box? It's our smoking gun. What could be tonight's game changer? And you're about to see the big reveal.
The Sheriff's Department has said we have witnesses. We don't have a witness to the shooting, but we have witnesses. But they wouldn't say who the witnesses were. So let's look at the facts that law enforcement says. They say that on that Sunday, that Principal Chance and her husband left in his 2011 Ford Mustang together at 7:30 in the morning from the house. Who are the witnesses to that? And then they say that they drove to a dirt road, and it was about 11 miles from their home. Who were the witnesses to that? Now, this was an almond grove because we know his body was found in the almond grove, and we know that it was a field worker that found the body. But then authorities say that that car went 13 miles to an intersection. And there was a neighbor that saw a female, get out with a baseball cap and her hair tucked under. She was about 145 pounds. Is this witness credible?
Now, before our jury renders its verdict on our bold question tonight, was the principal involved in her husband's murder? It's time to take a look at what's in tonight's mystery box. Let's take a look, folks. Here we go. Here it is. Oh, it's a big X. Not the letter X, but the principal's X. Ex-husband. What did he have to say about all this? Well, take a look. Here's what he said. It's just shocking. You know what I mean? I just don't know enough about it to have an opinion one way or another. I hope that it works out in a positive way. You know, it sounds to me like the principal's ex has left wide open the possibility that his former wife and mother of one of his children could, in fact, be a murderer. And Ryan and ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's no ringing endorsement from the principal's ex.
Not a ringing endorsement. Does it mean they're involved?
He's got?
You're not buying it?
God, no. If the ex had something to say bad, he sure would have taken the time to say it right there.
Well, he's reliving every argument they've ever had right about now, thinking about could he have been the one that wound up in that almond grove.
Really? It's gone that far already.
It's just proof how bad their case is. They got to go back to 17 years to find an ex who gives a maybe question. Again, it's all speculation. There's absolutely, at this stage, no evidence that she was involved in this.
Darren, is there anything incriminating in all this?
Not that I've heard. I mean, he really had a chance to unload on the ex, and I would take his silence as a tacit admission that that she's okay.
How about this, Vinny? He doesn't want to get involved. Why do I want to get involved in this?
How about just saying, no, there's no way. She couldn't have done it. I'm shocked. I'm in complete disbelief.
She's a loving mother. She would never do anything like that.
He said nothing of any vitriol. He said nothing rude at all.
He's breathing a sigh of relief.
But how?
You should take a poll on exes
long
and what
have they
say
been
about their
exes?
spouses.
All right, speaking of polls, and these guys right over here, they're ready to go. They want to deliberate. So, ladies and gentlemen, the bold question: was the principal involved in her husband's murder? It's time for you to start deliberations.
Did she have access to that car that morning? Was she driving it? Did she drive him, drop off the body, and then dispose of the car? We don't know. But what we do know is there'll be search warrants executed. There'll be computer forensics. There'll be text messages. There may be surveillance evidence and the phone records. The proof will be in the pudding. She is not found guilty yet, not even arrested. But if you think she's out of the woods, we got another thing coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you believe me less if I was dressed like this?
All right, Jersey, you ready to play? The price is freaking right.
Come on. Can you guys just leave it alone? Oh, a tree grows in After Dark. Let me tell you, the apple does not fall far from the tree.
You got me like, oh my gosh.
Anything can happen on HLN After Dark.
You never know what will happen when Dr. Drew's on call. HLN tomorrow night, 9 Eastern.
Todd Chance's parents live in Shafter. Travis and Diane Chance would not speak on camera, but told 17 News they had no indication Leslie and Todd had a bad marriage. In fact, they had just returned from a vacation in San Francisco.
Our jury deliberating the bold question: was the principal involved in her husband's murder? Here's what you're saying online. 58% on HLNTV.com saying yes. 42% saying no right now.
That's close, Vinny.
That's a close one. I want to go to Jim Murray. Jim, because one of our jurors had a question about the victim in this case. What do we know about the victim?
Well, what do we know? We know what his mom said. We know what his stepdaughter said. His stepdaughter said this. She said, he was the best guy, the best husband, the best dad. He's been in my life since I was 4. He was my dad, and he was everything. What a wonderful thing to say. And the mom, an unusual thing to say, but she talked about how he loved sports, and he was the peacemaker, an easygoing guy. So we have a husband and a wife who seem to be, by all accounts, just great people. And now this tragedy befalls their family, and the kids especially face the prospect of losing not only their dad, but now also their mom.
Yeah, Darren, that's the tough part of this case.
It's a horrible part of this case. But look, the prosecution is never required to prove motive. Motive isn't an element of the crime of murder. But if they bring this case to court, those jurors have an unquenchable thirst to hear it. So if we can't come up with some reason to say that she did this, it's so unlikely that there's ultimately going to be a conviction. They better have the goods.
Yeah, well, we can talk about motive, though. I mean, how about Jodi Arias? Remember her? Do we really know what her motive was? But we know she did it, right?
I can't believe this team is letting you make those comparisons.
I love that. It's so admissible in court. Jodi Arias and Lacey Peterson, what the?
This case is going to have a lot of physical evidence, and once that physical evidence comes
Let's
back
see what the
from
jury
lab,
thinks. Jury's reached a verdict. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've reached a verdict on the bold question: was the principal involved in her husband's murder? Let's go one by one. Juror number 1. Yes. Juror number 2. Yes. Juror number 3. Yes. Juror number 4. Yes. Juror number 5. No. Juror number 6. No. Juror number 7. No. Juror number 8. No. Juror number 9. No. No. All right. Juror number 10. Yes. Juror number 11. No. Juror number 12. Tie. 6-6. How about that for a close case? Want to get some comments. Gerald's an elementary school teacher. What do you think about this?
Well, when they were speaking about her character at work, you have a professional demeanor, and that's what you're supposed to be at work. Children are shocked if they see me in a supermarket. They actually think I live in my classroom.
Wow. So she could have been something.
She could have been one thing at school and something else somewhere else. We don't know.
We don't know. Colleen's got a comment as well. You said no.
Well, because I don't know enough.
Okay.
I love to say yes. You know, I love that, but I had to say no because I don't know.
You just love to say yes? That's how you are.
I think everybody's guilty, really, but Mike, I think everybody's guilty.
You gotta, there you go, Mike. Connection. Let me go to you, Brandon.
Well, I'm not ruling out the possibility that she could have played a role in the murder, but as of now, I don't have any concrete evidence to suggest that.
Not enough evidence yet. And let me get one more of my yeses. All right, you know, I'll go to you, Doris. You're an elementary school teacher. You say yes.
Yes, I do. I feel like that, again, like this is her character, is her professional demeanor. And, you know, she may be going through a midlife crisis. She may just snapped, you know, just wanted something different, wanted out.
Could she have snapped, Vinny?
Yeah, and I think we're going to learn more of the evidence as the investigation continues, but they have shut down any communication with us about what they have or don't have. But what a great job tonight by our in-studio jury. Fantastic, and all our experts. Big special thanks to Jim Moray, Chief Correspondent for Inside Edition. Always great to see you, Jim. That's it for HLN After Dark. We'll see you next time.